Hey moneymakers, a lot of you have been asking me about the NCB bond, so of course I had to get some info for you. It's been extended to September 9 due to the lockdown measures to give you more time to participate, even though everything can basically be done online. So the minimum investment is 100,000 Jamaican dollars and you get 6% interest a year paid twice a year. Sancia Thompson is Manager of Wealth Management and Syndication at NCB Capital Markets, and she'll tell us all about it. Hi Sancia, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Kalila. How about you?
I am good too. So the NCB bond is out. It will be closing on the 9th of September. It's been extended, but bonds are something that we don't hear about as often as stocks. So there's been a lot of conversation about stocks over the past few years, but bonds are another investment instrument that people should pay attention to. So tell me first, what is a bond?
All right, so a bond is a fixed income instrument that represents a loan made by an investor or the lender to a borrower. So in this instance, NCB Financial Group is coming to the market to borrow money from investors, and investors are the lenders. So we're asking investors to lend us some money, and we would have indicated, of course, the terms under which we are entering into this contract.
So that's pretty cool. So a lot of people don't realize that you, as the small guy, can actually lend money to a big bank like NCB.
Simply, that's what it is. Lending NCB Financial Group some monies.
So we become the bank in a sense.
A good way of looking at it, but when we look at the returns or the terms that we have set out in this bond offer, we think that it is really attractive, especially with the type of company that or the group that NCB Financial Group is, and the benefits that can be derived from investing in bonds. You would have stated on the onset that over the last few years we would have heard so much about stocks, and we're proud to have been a major part of that, in that we would have assisted several companies in coming to the market, being listed on the stock exchange for the very first time through the various IPOs. So yes, bonds sit on the other end of the spectrum. Stocks offer a higher level of risk, as you know, and a lot of investors and your viewers too would be accustomed to it, where over the last year or 2 years, they would have seen significant changes in the price of their bond portfolio, their stock portfolio. And as such, when you look at bonds, you don't have that level of risk. You have the spikes and the dips. That doesn't necessarily happen with bonds as they do with stocks.
So what you get is a consistent interest rate, right?
Yes, there is. There is, as part of the agreement, the borrower, being NCB Financial Group, would indicate the terms. In this instance, the term would be 6% that is paid per annum, semi-annually during the course of the bond. The bond is scheduled to mature in 3 years' time, which puts us at September 2024. So investors who participate can be rest assured that come March, they will get their first interest payment, and then September, they will get the other interest payment, and it will continue like this through to maturity. At the end of the maturity period, then the principal is repaid to them.
So let's do some quick maths. If you invest 100,000 Jamaican dollars in this bond at 6% interest annually, you will receive $6,000 in total interest payments in year 1. This will be broken down into 2 payments, $3,000 in March and $3,000 in September. Over the 3-year period, you will collect a total of $18,000 in interest. Upon maturity, you will receive your full $100,000 back, plus you'd get to keep the $18,000 you'd earned. Your $100,000 is now worth $118,000.
I want to also highlight that one of the questions we often get is as it relates to tax. And because the company is registered in Jamaica, then we are obligated to withhold tax at 25%, which of course is paid over to the government.
Okay. So tell me about some of the advantages or disadvantages of bonds versus stocks. You started going through it, but I think people, one of the most recent examples of bond is got a lot of publicity was the DIGICEL bond. And so there may be some people out there who hear bonds now and are afraid, like, ooh, oh my gosh, DIGICEL defaulted on its bonds, for example. So what should give me confidence now as opposed to putting my money in the stock market?
I'm happy that you made reference to that. And without going into the details of it as to what may have happened with the Digicel, when you look at bonds theoretically, there is the probability that the company can default, and default takes place where the company does not live up to its obligations. So remember at the onset, it's an agreement that is signed with the lender and the borrower, and based on some terms, some pre-existing terms. When those terms aren't met, then a default takes place. You talk about why it is, you ask why it is that investors would want to participate in this offer. Let us talk a little bit about who NCB Financial Group is and what it stands for. When we look at the local financial landscape, NCB holds, I don't want to say approximately 39% market share. It's a household name. It's a Jamaican company that has assisted a lot of clients. And we are really
everybody know NCB.
Everybody knows NCB. Every turn you make, you can find an NCB location. If you can't see a bank, you see an ATM machine. So we are ensuring that we remain relevant to the markets in which we serve. When we look at the NCB Financial Group, we have a presence across 21 Caribbean territories. And not only that we are focused on just commercial banking, there is brokerage as well. We have the securities where NCB Capital Markets plays a role. NCB Capital Markets has presence in Cayman, Trinidad and Tobago, in Barbados. And of course, when we look on the other end, we also have the Clarion Group, which has a high presence in Bermuda. And of course, we're all familiar with the recent activities about a year ago where Guardian is concerned. And Guardian is a powerhouse in Trinidad. And of course, one of the major insurance providers here in Jamaica as well. So when we talk about bonds, it is important that as investors, you actually look at the company in which that you are invested in. NCB is a publicly traded entity as well, which makes it, and it should offer some benefits or some assurances to clients as well, that they're investing in a company where they understand the mechanism as to what's happening with the company. Their financials are available that they can review. I mean, you look at the management team as well, which, I mean, when you look at who leads the group, pretty strong individuals who have proven themselves to have taken NCB from, I mean, years ago, we were considered a monkey bank. Look at the monkey now. Look at the monkey now. So, I mean, it's just a testament of the people driving force behind the group. And I want to assure every single Jamaican, or even those overseas, because we have been getting interest from the overseas community as well, that they really want to invest in this offer. And with every recommendation, we tell persons to look at, be certain of who you're investing in. And I'm sure that investors will agree that NCB is here for the long haul.
Yeah, NCB is I think it's very well known. NCB is a pretty solid company, and so if you're worried about the risk of default, you just have to look at the risk that you associate with NCB. And you guys have recently been rated by
Carrie Chris,
yes,
rating agency. I tell people, you know, like when you're going to school and you do an exam and you get A+. A+ for me only means one thing: you're excellent. You did pretty well on whatever you did. And that is the rating that was assigned to NCB Financial Group. And what it means, it's reflective of the stability in our financial performance, the strong market position that we have, the good governance system that is in place, and how it is that we have been able to adequately buffer our capital and liquidity positions.
Okay, so I've been asking quite a bit about the risks involved, because I just want people, especially since this is an instrument that a lot of my followers might not be as au fait with, I just want people to understand what it is. So there is something called a bond price, right? And bond prices can fall, which is one of the risks of investing in bonds. But tell me what that means, that the bond price can fall.
All right, so bonds are issued in the primary market. So similar, let me use an example of stocks. In that we can accept that the market has gotten a little bit more fair with stocks. So when a company is being issued to the market for the first time through equity, then it's the initial public offering or an IPO. When the bond is being issued for the first time, never before existed, it's issued in the primary market, and there's an offer period. In this instance, the offer period is between August 13th and September 9th. After that period passes, what it means is that anyone who holds the bond and wants to get out would have to now sell the bond at current prices. So usually when it's issued, we usually issue at around par, which is $100. In the secondary market, it's really based on market conditions. So the price could be higher, the price could be lower. But historically, what we have seen with the bonds, especially NCB financial group bonds, is that those bonds tend to hold their prices. So it's not usually at par once it gets to the secondary market. It's usually trades higher, which again offers some benefits for those investors who may want to exit their position before maturity in 2024.
The maturity is in 3 years, but what you're saying is that you don't have to wait until maturity, and at maturity you get back the full amount that you put in. So if you invested $100,000, you get back the $100,000, plus you get to keep the interest you've collected over the previous 3 years. But let's say for some reason you need back your $100,000 before 3 years is up. What are your options?
So it is our intention to have the bond issued on so you would be familiar, Kalila, that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a primary bond market where bonds can be traded, and this helps or increases the liquidity in which investors can obtain or relinquish their position in any bond. So yes, it is possible that investors can effect or relinquish their position before the maturity period.
And is there any penalty or disadvantage to doing this?
No penalties, and there's no penalty to purchase, no, or any fees to purchase into the offer, no. What I will say though is that the price, of course, can be higher based on the market conditions and the fact that NCB Financial Group, as I indicated earlier, is an investment grade bond, as noted by Caracris.
Right. So tell me a little bit about what NCB, well, first of all, how much do you intend to raise, and what does NCB plan to do with this money?
I'm happy that you asked that question. So the minimum amount we're looking to raise is $15 billion. This amount can be upsized by an additional $7 billion to put us at about $22 billion. The company is using the funds to refinance some existing debt, as well as reprofiling our liabilities.
All right, so how can people invest?
Investing is easy. It's important that persons who are interested establish a brokerage account if you don't already have one. We would want persons to have their accounts with NCB Capital Markets. If you have an NCB account, you can do so by visiting goipo.jncb.com to establish an investment account with us. If you already have an investment account elsewhere, we can assist you in participating. We'll provide you with the subscription package that you would need to, of course, I said earlier, complete the agreement. But two, we know that there are clients of other brokers who may be interested, and we have partnered with some of those brokers as selling agents. Some of those institutions currently include Stocks and Securities, JMMB, VM Wealth Management, Proven Wealth, GN Fund Managers, and Scotia Investments. So clients of those institutions can also make contact with them to express their interest in participating in the bond, or they can reach out to us at 876-960-7108 or email us at multichannel@jncb.com.
Thank you very much, Sancia. All the best with the offer.
Thank you so much to you as well, Kalila, and your viewers.
So if this investment sounds like it might be right for you, text BOND to 876-383-2076 or email multi-channel NCB Capital to speak to a wealth advisor. If you're an existing NCB client, you can also use Go IPO to apply. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Let's get this money.
Let's get this money.